Today we're going to be going over Project Neo from Adobe. It's their 3D application that's incredibly easy to use. All you do is import your SVG file directly into the app. I'm going to be creating a 3D environment. I'm going to be importing an SVG file. I'm going to be creating a bunch of three-dimensional objects. I'm going to show you how they interact with each other, how to create colors, shadows, lighting, and other effects. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.
So before we start, to get to the Project Neo beta, you'll need to go to projectneo.adobe.com, and this way you can get into creating a file. Now, it's free if you have an Adobe Creative Cloud account, and I believe they have a try it for free option as well if you don't, so you can play around with it. Okay, so we're going to hit create. And the first thing I'm going to do is change my artboard and frame size. So I'm going to do a 16 by 9, 1920 by 1080. So the first thing you'll see is this kind of frame. Now you can work with this or without this. I don't like to see the frame necessarily until I'm closer to what I think is going to be my finished product, but you can show frame if you want to. The other thing to note is that there's a snapshot here that you can do, and it's not what you think. It's not a snapshot like save an image type of snapshot. It's actually save this viewing of the camera, where the camera is in space. So if you have something where you like it, where you have the camera in a specific place and you like how it looks, definitely take a snapshot. You can add one here. Now, if you go back to this snapshot and you've created new objects, they're going to show up in that snapshot. So it's just where the camera is. It's not what's in the space. So I'm going to start off by deleting the objects that it comes with, which is a plane and a cube, and I'm going to start off with a sphere. So I'm going to make this sphere, and the idea here is I'm going to change its color. So the first thing to note is that there's this properties section. Now the materials, like, you can change the color. You can't add a gradient or anything like that. You can change the roughness. So if it's less rough, then it's more shiny. If it's metallic, it's super shiny. And obviously you can make it more opaque or less opaque. So outside of appearance, you also have combine, shape, and transform and repeat. So the other thing to note is there's this floating box here which shows you what objects you have. So if you have different objects, they're all going to show up in here via different color boxes. And so it can be an easier way to select your object if you've got multiple objects in a small space. The next thing to take a look at is styles. Styles, this is whether you want realistic, vector, pixelated, or illustrated. One thing to note, if you want to do vector, there's more options for vector when you're exporting. The lighting, this is a global lighting. You're going to also decide whether or not you want a floor. But you'll notice now we have a floor and my object is actually dipping inside the floor. So on this far left palette, you'll see the arrow. You'll see also a way to edit your object. I'll show you that in a minute. You can align objects. You can add 3D text. And this is orbit, where you can change the view of your camera. So if you select the sphere, you'll notice the edit button. And that allows you to modify the vectors for the shape. That can be really helpful, especially if you're used to working in a 2D space. Let's talk about some of these other toggles. So this one allows you to modify the size in all directions. These allow you to move the object in a specific direction. And these allow you to rotate the object around the axis. I'm going to recolor this sphere, and I'm actually going to change the background environment, and I'm going to choose a linear gradient. I'm going to choose, I think, an orange. And now we're going to start combining shapes. So you can take this shape, you can duplicate it by hitting Command D or hitting this button at the bottom. So I've made 2 objects now. So I want to use this to add color to this ball in stripes. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the color of this ball. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this color combine. So this combine section here, you'll see there's different options, and it does go over what they are. So let's say I want to change the color, that's what I'm going to do. Or if you want to have them kind of bounce off of each other, you can do that. You can do the avoid one to create really interesting shapes and have it sit on top of or next to your object. The other thing to check out is carve, and this is really important for creating different shapes that aren't in the regular shapes that are options for us. And the other one is intersect, where you only want to show the part that intersects. So we've got these 2 spheres. Now there are all these options under combine, and we're going to use color. So I'm going to mush them together, choose color, and you can see here I've got this color being added to the left sphere. We're going to create another sphere, and I wanted to go ahead and duplicate this one again, and I'm going to move this one out and basically do the same thing. I'm going to change the color, and I'm going to choose color, and there's our stripe. Now once you have your objects together like this, you can select them all, and then you can group your shapes together. I recommend doing this. It makes it much easier to move your item around. So I'm thinking this is a pretty good snapshot. I'm going to take this one. Okay, so if ever we want to go back to this view, we can just go back here and select it. Okay, I'm going to bring in my logo because it is going to be the main focus of this image. So I'm going to go import SVG. So there's a few options that we have for this. I'm actually going to make it pink. There are material things I want to edit, so less roughness. I want it to be kind of shiny. And then this is where the shape information is going to come in. So there is bottom corner and top corner. So I'll do the top corner so you can see the effect. And bottom corner would be the same exact thing, but on the other side of the object. Inflate is something I really like. It just creates this really fun object that's just, it looks like it's inflatable. Now if you use whole, it's going to be a stroke effect. I also think that I might want to put it where it looks like it's coming in from the floor, like it's melting. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to create a rather large ball over here. And then I'm going to change the colors of the ball. Now I'm going to make another one of these and make it rather small, and I'm going to have it coming out of the floor. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did previously. Now the next thing I'm going to do is create a very cool blend of shapes. So now I'm going to create another sphere, a smaller one. So we're going to take this other small sphere and we're going to color it pink, and we're going to blend it with this sphere. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is change it to be pink, and then I'm going to go down here and under combine, Make sure it's additive and it's not color. And I'm going to change the blending so it's at 100%. So now as we move this sphere, it's going to grab onto anything that it's near. So you can see it did that there. As a designer, I love this app. It is very easy to use and I just want to play with it all day long. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is show the frame. So we can make sure that we can export out an image. I'm going to export out this image as a PNG file. So under share, you can share with the community. I think the default is to have this on. You can copy a link to send it to others to view and collaborate. So under download, you have a few options here. If you choose MP4 video, there's a standard animation that it comes up with. There's 3 options here: turntable, boomerang, or light. So turntable just does exactly what you would expect. It rotates your environment. The boomerang is kind of a back and forth animation, and you can choose the angle that you want it to do it at. Light just changes the direction of the light. So for this one, we're going to do a PNG, and this gives you the option for a transparent background. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm going to go and play a little bit more, and I hope you do too.